Good afternoon to our CanGift community. We are so excited today to have Nikisha Lewis joining us. Hi, Nikisha.
Hi. Hi,
Well,
everyone.
and I'm Nicole Hilton, the Chief Marketing Officer at the Canadian Gift Association, for those who don't know me. I'm going to start out by reading Nikisha's speaker profile so you can get to know her a little, and then she's going to dive into all this very exciting content to help you with your retail stores. Nikisha graduated from Ryerson University with a bachelor's degree in interior design and had the opportunity to intern at the head office of one of the most popular shopping centers in Canada, where she was exposed to the newest stores and their designs coming into the center. From then on, she was hooked and knew that commercial interior design was for her. Like fashion, the retail design industry was fast-paced and changed with the trends, and she loved that there was so much room for creativity. Before starting NOLA Designs, she worked for a retail design firm and as an in-house designer for large Canadian retail companies such as TELUS Mobility, Indigo Books and Music, and Rogers Communications. Nikisha is going to provide us with her top store design tips to help retail business owners elevate their store to increase sales. I'm also going to remind everyone that you can ask a question to Nikisha. We're holding questions till the end, so we'll have a Q&A session when she's concluded her presentation, and the questions tab is available on the GoToWebinar settings on your docking station. So without further ado, let's all welcome Nikisha, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Nicole. So today's presentation is basically going to be on retail design strategies to elevate your store. And what I'll be sharing is basically tips and strategies you can use or probably implement today without having to do like a full-on store renovation, because I know that's not always feasible for everyone at the moment. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit more about me. I know Nicole has covered it. I'll talk to you about why store design is important for your retail business, and then I'll walk you through three of my kind of top three strategies for how you can implement some updates to your store if you wanted to. So like Nicole mentioned, I have gone to school for interior design. So I'm an interior designer by trade. I am a registered interior designer, and in my path, I, wasn't really a fan of residential because I was exposed to retail. And so in my time as an in-house designer and also working at retail firms, I realized there was a gap between the large retailers and the small retailers in the sense that smaller retailers didn't have the means to present their product well, whereas the larger retailers had it, obviously everything was like well done, well packaged. And, I felt like the smaller businesses needed that same sort of opportunity. And so this is mainly the reason why I started my business, because I knew I had this knowledge and expertise because I've been behind the scenes and I wanted to offer that to the smaller business. So this is how I am where I am today with my small business. So why is design important to you, important for your store? So basically, as we all know, it will make your store look a lot more professional. I've found in my research that a lot of small businesses are cluttered. I found a lot of small business owners feel the need to display literally every single product in their sales floor, and not realizing how much that attracts or detracts customers. And so when you can create a store environment that your customers can connect with and identify to, that just leads to more customers coming in. And your store should also kind of speak to the type of brand you have. And if you have had branding done by a professional branding company or a designer, a graphic designer, I think it also helps too, because let's say your brand was, I don't know, a boho chic brand for 20-year-olds and you're selling, I don't know, clothing, let's say. Your store can really emulate that lifestyle that they have which will ultimately attract them to your store. If they see this space that, oh, I like that vibe, let me go check it out. That when they connect visually to that store aesthetic, that will get them in your store immediately and then start shopping. So it really just leads to more sales for you, and it really kind of sets the tone for your customer and helps them understand and perceive your business a little better, rather than just kind of setting up a store with fixtures and putting product on a display. So it really creates a more curated, considered experience for the product that you're presenting to your customers. So I'm going to share with you 3 strategies you can implement today if you wanted to. So strategy number 1 is organize your displays. I know I've talked about decluttering, and I just want to say that, psychologically for the buyer, whenever they see a cluttered store, it gives the impression of cheap and discounted versus a very minimal, clean store with, I guess, minimal product, you can say, on the shelves. It gives off the impression of expensive. And we've seen this with a lot of luxury retailers where they barely have anything in their stores, right? And yet people are willing to buy. It sets them apart. It elevates them so much. And so I think it's important for especially small businesses to find the fine balance. Like, I understand there's a lot of product that you want to sell and you want all your customers to see. And I run into this all the time with my clients, but there is a balance between too much and too little. So if you organize your displays in a way that you can categorize your product in terms of, product categories, and then label it, right? That will help your customers navigate your store and get more clarity on what you're selling, right? And even as you categorize it within their own little categories, group them together so that you can group like products together or group them together in terms of color, size, complementary products, so that your customer is inspired by, what you have to offer them, right? It's really thinking about the presentation of your product and how you want your customers to kind of interact with those displays. Like, I was at StruckTube yesterday, and I should have taken a picture of this and Instagrammed it, but there was one display that really caught me because everything had this like pink theme, right? And it was a mix of pillows, accessories, candles. I think that was pretty much kind of summed up what was being displayed. And although they were all different product types, the main theme was pink. They all weren't the same pink color, but the color scheme of pink was there, and it really kind of visually drew me to that display. So that is one strategy you can use for your store when you are kind of putting your displays together or kind of editing what you have, is to think about, how can you organize them by color, shape, size, or like products. So like, for instance, in this example, we've got all our necklaces together, or we've got all the bracelets together, or necklaces that kind of can go together where you can layer them. Like, that is a way to also upsell when you display kind of like or complementary products together. Strategy number 2 would be fixtures. I've had small business owners and clients reach out to me saying that, they've set up their store and they've gone ahead and bought, fixtures here and there, and they've felt that it's very piecemeal and that it doesn't kind of work, right? It doesn't feel cohesive. And so I find that that is the common pain point for a lot of small business owners, where they just are buying for the sake of buying, or buying because they know they need an additional display, but they're not buying out of like a design strategy per se, but they're just buying out of need. And therefore it's really hurting the image of their brand, and they know it. But it's kind of like, let's just make do with this. And so One way to kind of elevate your store and make your store feel more professional is by having all cohesive fixtures. And by cohesive, that means, you know, either your fixtures are the same color, the same aesthetic and size, the same, the same shape, the same kind of, it comes from the same family. And it really should also kind of be a reflection of your brand as well. So, and this is where, you know, branding your space really can come in to effect, where, you know, again, the style of your fixture would also kind of communicate to that ideal customer. Think of it like furniture. Like I know it's the backdrop to your product, but it also is the stage, and it really just does set the tone for the environment you're trying to create for your clients, or sorry, for your customers. So thinking about, you know, how can you either add, swap, edit, remove what you have right now. So you can always add like decor in terms of, you know, to style your space. So, you know, thinking about adding plants or seating, ottomans, mirrors, you name it. You can add any furniture piece to your store to really create that feeling of your brand, or that aesthetic that you know your customer will identify with. You can also update your fixtures if you wanted to. You can easily paint them. I mean, like, especially if they're metal, you can easily get them like a metal paint, spray paint, and just kind of paint them all one color so it has this consistent look and feel. And so that everything is kind of really aligned, right? So that is one way you can go about updating your store. And strategy number 3 would be brand images. And I know a lot of retail businesses, you know, put money forth to get their products photographed. I do know some go the extra mile and get lifestyle images. And especially now where we live in a very Instagrammable world, and we all have Instagram profiles for our businesses, we have images that connect with our brand on, you know, on these profiles. And I think it's important to bring those images from our Instagram profiles and from our websites into our space, because these images ultimately help your shoppers understand how your product is used, right? Like how they can style it, or how they can, you know, implement it into their lifestyle, right? So this image is basically an example of how I've implemented that into one of my clients' stores, where, you know, she had tons and tons of lifestyle images photographed, mainly for Instagram, right? And I thought, well, have you ever thought of bringing that into your store? And not bringing it in on a small scale, because she did have a lot of small, I don't know, like small little kind of cubed images on some displays. And I thought, no, this needs to be medium to large scale, because if it's small, it's not going to have the same impact. Whereas if it's big, it, you know, it brings a lot more visual interest to your store. And again, like your customers are not just seeing, you know, an array of product on the wall. They're getting this visual break, and they're seeing an image, right, of what it is you're selling and how they can bring it into their lifestyle. And really, these images should be aspirational, and that is what will also inspire your customer to buy, right? And that's ultimately what we want. We want them to buy. So when you create, you know, a store that is like a holistic experience, like that is something that, you know, you want your customer to be entirely inspired by everything they see in your store, because one, that's going to get them to buy, and then two, they're going to want to share it with their community who they know. And then, you know, if the whole store feels, you know, considered and inspiring, they're going to share that on Instagram, and that's going to be a free marketing tool for you as well as the business owner or as a retail business. So really thinking about how you can incorporate your brand images or graphics into your store to really speak to their lifestyle. And then also when you bring in these images, think about where you're going to place them, like strategically place them, you know, in places where it will catch your customer's attention. So for instance, in this photo, he placed this, I call it hero graphic, right at the entrance. So if someone was walking by the store, they could see it. When they walk into the store, it's like right in front of them. So it really does capture the attention of the customer, and like it just kind of creates desire to want to find, one, the pieces in those images, and then two, discover what else they have, right? And so it really does kind of create that, you know, that aspirational, I guess, desire within the customer. Any questions? That was really quick.
I'm going to hop back on here with you, Nikisha. Thank you so much for sharing your tips. We do have one question that has come in already, so we're going to just leave the floor open so people can type in their questions using that Q&A tab if you have a question about retail store design or any of this branding topic that Nikisha has talked about today. So the question that came in is, could you walk us through what a day with one of your clients is like?
I'm assuming like my design process.
Yeah, like your design, I guess your design process, and if you were working with a client, like what's sort of the step-by-step with the services you provide them and how that lays out?
So, you know, once I onboard a client, what we do to kick off our project is we do a kickoff meeting where I'll meet them in their store, and we'll walk them through all their needs, wants, desires. I also have them do an inspo intake form where I understand, you know, what they're hoping to achieve aesthetically with their store and also functionally. So a lot of those images have a mix of aesthetics and, like, you know, little things they've seen in other stores that they want to implement in their store. So I'll take those images, and in our kickoff meeting, we will do a walkthrough of their space, and then go through all those images. And I just, you know, I make my notes. After that meeting as well, I'll do some measurements. I'll do some measurements of their space, and then I'll take that away and I will create what I call is like my concept design. So what I've been doing is creating the design in a 3D model so they can get a full understanding of what their store is going to look like, because, you know, I don't want any assumptions, and I want to make sure that everything I'm designing fits and that we're creating the experience that we're trying to aim for. And so I find that really helps my client really just understand the entire store, right? So once I've created the concept model of their store, then we will meet and have a concept meeting, and I'll walk them through the entire design. I'll do revisions after if revisions are needed. And then once we all, you know, are happy with the design, I will do, I'll put together a drawing, like drawings if we need, like install drawings for a contractor if they're working with one, or a lot of the times they're working with, or they have a partner or a family member who will install, you know, the fixtures for them or assemble fixtures for them. So I'll just create basically an instructional drawing of how high things should be mounted. And I essentially am there for the whole process until, you know, the store is fully opened. And I'm there supporting them and answering questions. And I'll also provide them with a shopping list. So I'll go through and select the furniture pieces, the fixtures, the displays, everything, even from the merchandising items, like risers and, you know, things to hold watches, for instance. So we'll go through that whole process. I have a merchandiser, again, who also will come in and do merchandising execution for them if they feel like they need that. And yeah, so I'm there through the whole process until the store opens. And then once the store opens, we kind of look at, you know, if anything needs to be tweaked. A lot of the times I'll get some feedback from from them or like their customers about, you know, things that they like. Most of the times they love everything, so which is nice, but it is also a time for us to assess like if anything needs to be tweaked or adjusted. And then I'll schedule a photo shoot, and then that pretty much wraps up the entire project and the process. And you know, they always do reach out if they, you know, if they want to add something, they always tend to want to run it by me, which I'm totally fine with. So yeah, that's essentially the process in a nutshell.
Wow, I feel like that's so interesting for people to hear who have never, you know, worked with someone providing
Yes.
services like you do. So it's really important that they know those steps you take along the way, and that you're like their visionary behind
Yeah.
how their store is going to lay out and how they're going to make their customers happy while they're there. A
Yeah.
quick bit of clarification. Somebody's written in and they're just wondering, when you talk about the term label, are you referring to signage?
Yes. So yeah, I'm referring to like internal signage within your store. I guess you can see in this example, like I've got new arrivals. I've labeled this section new arrivals, and I think that helps customers when they're navigating. So those kinds of in-store labels help. It doesn't have to be as big as that, but it can, you know, just be on a shelf, like a shelf talker, right? Where you can easily just get that printed, you know, on cardstock, and you know, put in some sort of I don't know, object to like, you know, mount it on, right, on that display, so customers know what each category is.
Right, so it's kind of like giving customers a point of reference,
Yeah.
or a little bit of a self-service angle there, so they don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to wait to ask, you know, one of the employees in the store if they're tied up with another customer. They can see what it is they're having to look at.
Exactly. And exactly. And you know, it really does help. Like I find when I've walked into a lot of these small businesses or like my client businesses, and I'm just kind of, I like to really observe and kind of take in what they have, or how they've implemented things already. A lot of them don't even have any sort of shelf talkers or signage in their store. And especially now with, you know, COVID, and we're trying to reduce like our interaction, like having signage now would probably be very key to have, so that, you know, the customer can get in, find what they want, head to the cash, and they're not circling or, you know, having to interact too much. Like it kind of makes them really more independent.
Yeah, and you know what? Just along the lines of signage, because it's in my head from, you know, being on your Instagram page myself, is you had that post about like floor decals for
Yes.
signage, and I thought that was really interesting, and some more creative ways, because I guess retailers are used to floor signage, you know, but this is more using it creatively to let people know about social distancing,
Yeah.
rules that might be in place, and they were kind of like more stylized and cute.
Yeah, so I've noticed that it's trending now. Like I've gone to like a Sephora, or like obviously a lot of the larger retailers have gone the extra mile to brand these floor decals, whereas the small businesses are just using tape, like tape to make arrows. And I'm like, wow, what a difference. It really does make a difference when you really go that extra mile and just, you know, really think about these smaller details. And I know it's a lot to think about for a business in general, right? Because you've got so many other things going on. This is why I like to come in and help. But you know, those small like details really do set the tone. And I know I was in Sephora, and like the messaging they had on their floor decals, and I Instagram this, so it might be in one of my highlights, but the messaging they had in their floor decals were like, it was very much the language of their customer. And I'm like, it was so cute. And it wasn't even the same one. I think they had like 3 or 4 versions. So as you're walking through the store, it was saying different things. And I thought, you know, that they really have thought through how their brand is communicated in all aspects of their store. And I think that's so important for small businesses to really kind of take on too, like, because it's an entire experience you're providing for your customers.
Yeah, I feel like what you're saying is even the signage is reflecting the personality of the store. It just tells the story a
Yeah.
little further, right? Okay,
Yeah.
we have tons of questions coming in, so I really should
Oh.
get to Okay, this is great though, that so many people have so many insightful questions for you. Where do you recommend putting items in a store that are on sale, and where do you recommend placing items in a store that are new?
So for new items, I like to do like a feature table. Like I've always recommend doing a feature table or a feature wall, like in this example, like this whole wall is for new items, right? But for new items, like you could do a feature table right as customers walk in or right in the middle of your space or off like in the middle of the space or on the perimeters on either side, and you highlight that as a feature. In the past I've seen retailers have a graphic with pedestals in front featuring new products. So that's one way you can do it. In terms of sale items, I am not crazy about an entire sales rack like at the back of the store. It kind of just makes it feel junky. I've been to stores where I didn't even realize I was shopping in the sales rack area. And I feel like as a customer, it makes me feel better about myself because it doesn't make me look like I'm being cheap because I'm, shopping on the sales rack. I feel like, I'm shopping like everybody else. So if you integrate it with the products you're already selling, I think that helps a lot, especially with your customers, as they're shopping. It's like also a surprise. Like if you're shopping, all these bracelets and then you find one that's on sale, that's like bonus, right? So I'd like to recommend like having it amongst everything else.
Yeah, I feel like that's a really good point too, because you always think of like those stores that have like the sale room, and then
Yeah,
it almost trains customers to just go to that sale room and bypass whatever else is at regular price. So
exactly.
finding it as a surprise is just
Yeah.
like couple
And
for your sales.
yeah, and those sell rooms are always junky. Like it's those shelves that it's almost like an afterthought. And even large retailers do this. Like those racks are always junky. They're unkept. Like everything is kind of just shoved in there. And it's like, okay, but these what you have is still product. It's still valuable. Like even though it may not be in season or it's on sale, like you should still treat it like all the other product in your store, right? So just my opinion. So
Yeah, I think that's a great opinion. Okay, probably really relevant in today's world of COVID and people taking a good look about what products they are carrying in their store and what products are the ones that are selling most. What's a good way to edit the amount of product in your store?
right. So I guess it really depends on what you're selling, but in terms of editing, you could really edit down to what's relevant to your customers right now. Edit according to seasons if we need to, and I know like a lot of retailers, are swapping things out according to season. Really thinking about or understanding what your clients or customers are looking for right now is one way you can really edit down. And just really keeping them in mind, right? Like I keep saying this, but it's really kind of putting yourself in their shoes, thinking about what they're shopping for, putting out what's relevant to them right now. And then, you know, anything that's irrelevant or it could be relevant, like you can kind of pair it with the things that are relevant right now. And that's one way you can edit down. And when I say edit, like, I mean, you don't need to put 50 of the same product on a shelf. I think 5 is enough, right? And then you can just go in your back stock and just keep refilling it as people buy, right? I find a lot of small businesses feel like they need to put 50 of the same products on the same shelf, and it's overwhelming to their customers. So thinking about that is really important. Like, you don't have to put everything out. You can put less. Like less is more, right?
Yeah, and maybe this ties into this next question too. Like some
Mm.
retailers feel like they have to fill every empty space that's around. And this retailer is asking if you have any creative tips for filling empty space in your store.
Filling empty space. One, furniture. Furniture helps. So setting up little vignettes helps a lot. Like if you are a candle store, for instance, right? Set up a little vignette of, a side table and a chair with, you know, some like maybe some sort of graphic behind it to really kind of set the mood. And like, you don't, again, it doesn't have, like, that's one way you're presenting your product to your client in a different way. You can fill gaps with graphics, like I mentioned before. Like, that's another way to kind of really break up the visual of just, you know, overloading your sales floor with products. Your sales floor should not look like your stock room. So it should be a very curated experience.
Mm-hmm. This is a question, I'm just going to refer to it so the retailer knows that we've received it, but I think you'll want to follow up with her on email after the presentation.
Okay.
And I know you're going to share your contact details and your Instagram, yeah, all that great stuff before we end our session. So this retailer is a small retail home decor store and is wondering the cost for consultations and to redesign layouts. I'm not sure if that's something that you would want to share or give a ballpark with, or if anyone has a specific question or wants to work with Nikisha, then she's happy to talk to you one-on-one, right?
Yeah, I do in-store consults for stores that have existing, that have a store, and I go in and do like provide recommendations and layout tweaks. And so yes, you will find that service on my website, and you can book it whenever you'd like.
Okay,
it's
perfect.
Usually
and stay tuned because Nikisha's got a slide with her info
yes,
that you can take down later. Okay, so this retailer is saying that it's hard for an independent store to find great display that looks chic, trendy, and wow.
yes.
Do you have any good references of where they can pick up display furniture and accessories that you could share?
Yes, this is my secret, but it's not. I mean, that shouldn't really be a secret, but I will say, for a lot of my client projects, I found that the retail fixture suppliers out there are terrible. It's so dated. It's like, it's awful. It's really sad. So I've actually defaulted to furniture stores, mainly IKEA, Structube, Bouclair. So there are ways you can translate furniture pieces into fixtures. So yeah, it's about getting creative and thinking outside of the box.
As I'm hearing you say this is actually really good for our CanGift community because, yeah, you know, at our in-person trade shows, we have so many exhibitors that are wholesaling furniture pieces. So maybe retailers haven't thought about that before, that they would pick up those pieces and, you know, sell them as merchandise in their store, but they could also order them from wholesalers to build them into their store concept.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Okay, we still are having tons of questions rolling in, and I am of the time, so let's keep going through them. Personal question for you. What's your inspiration? How do you come up with your store concepts?
Oh, this is great. So I actually posted about this. I'm glad you asked, because someone asked me, and I felt like when I first answered the question, it didn't really capture what I thought. But anyways, let me get into it. So I get inspiration from a number of places. So firstly, so in general, I get inspiration from museums, believe it or not. I love when you go to a museum, there's this kind of browsing and like meandering kind of thing that's happening, right? And I feel like you want the same feeling when you go in a store. You want your customers to browse and meander. So kind of making the store feel like a gallery is one way that I get inspired. I also get inspired by residential design, believe it or not, because I feel like, especially like, I don't know, a lot of product sits in homes. And so I'm like, okay, well, how can the client or the customer see this working in their home? So I look at a lot of setups within residential homes, I guess you can say, to help me figure out how to display certain things. And I'll give you an example. Right now I'm working on a bridal shop, and designing their fitting rooms right now. I'm like, when I went into that, I was thinking, okay, what is the ideal experience that I want the customer to feel like, right? And I just started thinking about luxury walk-in closets, right? You want it to feel like a walk-in closet that you've always dreamed of. And so then I started looking at designs of walk-in closets and how I can, make this feel like that luxury experience, right? So that's one way I look at it. And then I also like looking at what, of course, larger retailers are doing, because they're doing a lot of experiential things. They're not doing the standard store setup that we know today. It's so outside of the box. And so I like to see what they're doing and how they're getting creative. And I also like looking at, like I used to travel a lot. So I like seeing what people were doing in other parts of the world, how they live, how they're designing. So that used to inspire me. It's different now when you just see it on Instagram, but yeah, those are some ways that I get inspired by design. But of course, I'm always on Pinterest. My clients, whenever I work with clients, they share their Pinterest board with me, and I like to kind of build on what they've pinned already, and I kind of find more creative ways to set up their store outside of the standard setups that we've seen today.
Okay, this retailer is asking if you personally ever design Instagrammable centers or displays in a retail space. I'm thinking that means like almost a selfie spot or that type of like Instagram wall sort of thing.
Yeah, I have, and I still am. And it's one of the things I incorporate in my process or in my designs is an Instagrammable feature for all clients, because I think it's a standard of any space at this point. So I do it in different ways. So for the jewelry store I showed you, which is probably not the best image anyways. So what I've done for that one store, we created multiple spots for Instagrammable moments. So on their mirrors, they had, inspirational quotes where they can take a selfie. And, that was really catering to that type of customer, right? Because it's a younger customer. They like to take mirror selfies. So we're like, let's give them a mirror moment. Then I had another store that I recently completed where they obviously wanted a photo wall, and so it's a low waste store for home goods, and so we created like an ideal kind of vignette setup of almost like not a living room experience, but like it's a vignette of chairs and like all these home good items kind of grouped together, and then their logo was on top, and so that was like their Instagrammable experience. And I've got one spa I worked on recently. We did an entire green wall because her products are natural. So we did a green wall with a neon sign, right? And so the Instagrammable wall that I create for any client is really custom to their brand and what makes sense to their brand and the type of client or customer they have. So yes, I do Instagrammable walls.
Hot topic right now for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, a retailer has written in just wondering if you can explain the difference when we talk about store design versus display versus merchandising.
Okay. So store design is the overall store. So the store design would encompass like your displays, your fixtures, but also like your lighting, your flooring, if we had flooring finishes that we wanted to change the flooring, if we want to do paint, your storefront, thinking about your storefront signage. So it's really the holistic approach. When I speak about displays, I'm talking about your fixtures. So it could be a table display, a wall display, racks, anything freestanding, your windows. And then visual merchandising speaks to the product on those displays. So how you set up your product. So, so for instance, if you've got candles, I'll just keep using candles as an example. Instead of just throwing candles on your shelf, we want to curate it and present it in a way that will allow your customer to experience it and see it. And So for instance, we can go, some stores have, you know, a tester candle where, you know, it's set up with, I don't know, some stylish matches, right? And so we will stylize the product, yet display them, you know, in a very organized way behind that main feature. So we're looking at how your products are displayed on your fixtures. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, and to follow that up from a retailer, I think like you're saying with merchandising and you know, with COVID and the touch it, feel it aspect being a little bit questionable in the retail world. This retailer is saying that they have an antique home decor store and they've decided to stay closed because of COVID right now. Having said that, when they do reopen, what would you suggest for the design of the store that they could implement to keep their product displayed so people have to ask to look at it and without offending them?
Yeah, so I mean, one way you can display your product is like what I mentioned, doing some vignettes. And so vignettes meaning like small setups of how, you know, if it's, you know, a chair, a lamp, and a rug, let's pair them all together so that your customer can see how they can all work together, right? And then I've seen retailers just put little notes saying, you know, please, you know, ask about our displays. Like, it doesn't hurt to do that. Just make sure it doesn't look like a written note. Like, you know, you get it printed on cardstock with your branding on it or your logo to really kind of make it look refined and updated. And again, like with antiques, another way you can look at displaying it is with, you know, like products. So maybe you want to display all your lamps together, but not just group them all together, but group them in terms of sizes, like, you know, put all the same size lamps together or all the same size or all the same lamps with the same kind of finish together, right? So that it's easier for the customer to find what they're looking for. Because if I was coming in looking for a bronze lamp with a white shade, right? At least they're grouped together so I can like see it and I can see what I can find what I'm looking for without having to sift through things, right? So kind of being really smart and strategic about how you are setting up those displays so that your customer can navigate it.
Fantastic. Now we are, you know, ticking down with time. Do you still have time to take a couple more questions, Nikisha?
Yeah, for sure. We got 20 minutes. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Fantastic. There's a few more that have come in that look like they're really important. So
okay.
Now this retailer is also addressing the COVID precautions and wondering about changes they can make to their store layout to make customers more comfortable inside as they are reopening.
Right. And I've talked about this a lot in the beginning of COVID. So, I mean, one thing, and I've said this, one thing you can do is reduce the amount of displays. Like, I don't know what the store looks like, but if you can create enough space or, you know, where we can get that social distancing, the 6 feet, whether it be between fixtures or like around the perimeter of your store, like, if it means reducing the amount of fixtures that are on your floor, like, so be it. It's the reality we're in because you want to encourage that distancing. Another thing I've mentioned before is to provide, obviously you've got signage, but also create like enough sanitizing stations within the store to help encourage, like, to tell your customers, like, so your customers can see that you do care about, you know, the cleanliness of the store, the hygiene. You've got these moments where they can sanitize. I've also said, you know, I guess depending on the product you have, again, like I've mentioned, like maybe you have notes saying like, you know, please don't touch, like ask for assistance if you want to touch and feel something, right? And then you also look at how you can bring in the plexiguard glass, like you want that at your cash for sure. But if you've got like, let's say a table displayed down the center of your store, maybe like and if customers need to kind of look at it, maybe you do a plexi guard between, right? Like right in the center of that display, so that if there's a customer on either side, at least they can both kind of look at the display without, feeling awkward that someone is like standing right in front of me kind of thing. So, those are a few ways you can implement COVID precautions, and also the floor decals is another way. And I also say promote these stuff, or promote things that you're doing to create COVID, or that promote how you're COVID proofing, I guess, your space on Instagram, because people are finding you on Instagram. So if you show them what you're doing in your store to make, to care about their safety, that's going to make them want to come in and feel like it's okay to come to your store.
Yeah, I agree. I think more than ever, people are making the decision to go to a store before they actually get there,
Yeah.
They're maybe doing more of their research on websites and Instagram and other social media platforms. So the more information that you can get out ahead of time is the better.
And the other thing I do want to mention is having a dedicated fixture for store pickups, because there's some customers who don't want to shop a store, right? And we just have to accept that. But if you tell them that you have the option of doing pickup, like I know some people are still keeping curbside pickup, but if you have a fixture dedicated to pickups where everything is already packaged, all they have to do is come in and grab it and go, like that is another element to have in your store, which I think might become a staple. And how you present that matters, and where you place that in your store matters. And obviously you don't want to place it at the front so someone can just walk out, but like you want to place it somewhere where it's out of the way, and away from like everybody else, but in a place where it's easy for your customer to like find what they've ordered.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this retailer has a question about handmade products. And again, I feel like this is like a really hot category this year and coming through the pandemic. And how you would lay out your store to include the handmade category. And like you mentioned earlier in the presentation about putting out multiple items, do multiples of handmade actually diminish the value?
Do multiples of handmade? So it depends, like what kind of handmade products are we thinking? Like if it's like a knitted scarf, I guess we could use for instance.
He does type in and say, for example, mugs. Like, would you put out, I guess what she's trying to ask is maybe the less handmade you put out, the more special the item, because they're unique.
I think, and I think in general, like, if I mean, you put out 3 or 4, but I'm just saying don't put out like, 25 of them, because it's like, it's too much. And I feel like it takes away from the value of the product you're putting out, right? So feel free to replenish it. Like you've got 25, that's fine, but put 3 out, and then as one gets sold, you replenish it with another, right? Like you just kind of, replenish it, I guess you can say. But all the stock doesn't need to be out at once.
Okay, a question that's come in specific from someone that works at a garden center or greenhouse. And I guess some of their challenges in that type of retail environment are displays being exposed to moisture or sunlight. So do you have any suggestions, or have you ever worked for a garden center or greenhouse in their store display before that you can protect displays and visual marketing and like the signage you've been talking about today from some of those more natural elements?
Yeah. So again, it comes down to what materials you're using. So for a space that is exposed to a lot of moisture and sunlight, so moisture, I would say, metal displays that are coated, right? We don't want it to rust, but like if there's a coating on it, that would definitely help. In terms of signage for that, again, if the signs were like behind some sort of acrylic so the paper isn't getting damaged. That would help a lot. Yeah, I mean, there's many applications to help prevent water from getting into anything. But I mean, if you are in an existing store right now, like you could I don't know what type of fixtures you have right now, but if it's like, I don't know, if it's a wood fixture, like I would look at getting it sealed, so that you're not getting the water kind of damaging it or the sun damaging it. So it's hard to say because I don't know what fixtures you have right now, but metal fixtures really do probably help with that. It's not going to get sun damage. And yeah, just maybe look at acrylic fixtures, acrylic or plastic, but like a sturdy plastic, nothing flimsy. Hope that helps.
Yeah, she is typing in just as a follow-up saying that
Okay.
she does use glass and metal as much as possible. So
Okay.
she's hear you say that, and thanks for your suggestions.
All right. Glass and metal.
We do have 2 more questions, and then Nikisha is going to put her information on the screen so everyone knows how to connect with her, because a lot of people are writing in saying, how can I find you on Instagram? So I think you're an excellent inspiration to everyone today.
Great.
And okay, this one is specifically about lighting in your store. Can you recommend a specific type of bulb to give you the best light?
Well, okay, there's so many types of bulbs, but I would say, okay, so type of lights for a store, I always do track lighting. Track lighting helps you highlight your products because you can aim the heads, right? So you always want track lighting on your perimeter. In the center of the store, I always do, and if you have feature tables in the middle of your store, a pendant light above each feature. And then for general lighting, I like to do pot lights. And then the tone of light, I'm always on the warm side of things. So there's a lot of LEDs out there. I do spec LEDs. And so if you're getting an LED, you want a warm light. And that's the aesthetic I prefer to have in store environments because it's warmer, it's more inviting. So anything that's a warm light would help you.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is other people's pet peeve, but it's my personal pet peeve when you're in a clothing situation and you're, a change room or something and you're trying on clothing and it's like that bright light on you, and
Yeah.
feel like that's nobody's real life. Like that's not flattering.
No, it's not. I mean, one recessed pot light is enough, and it's warm. Like I feel like that really does set the tone or the mood.
Yeah, no one wants to be under investigation, right? When they're just like trying on that scarf.
Yeah, like Walmart has those really bright lights, and I hate it. I mean, I wouldn't even want to change in there, but it's like, just, I guess to give you a little bit of psychology here, warmer lights are more inviting, which make people want to stay. Whiter and brighter lights are kind of make people want to go in and out really quickly, which is why, Walmart kind of does white, bright lights or colder lights, because it's more of like, funny enough, because a lot of people spend a lot of time in Walmart, but it's more of like an in and out kind of like, I'm not staying here, I'm going to, grab what I want and go. Whereas stores with warmer lights, it's more inviting. People are more likely to wander and stay. So that's some tip for you.
Feels like home. So, okay, how can interior design be used to facilitate how customers flow through your store space?
Yeah, that really comes in your space planning, like how you, the placement of your fixtures, right? Like how do you want to guide customers through your store, right? And the way you set up your fixtures really does encourage that. And so when it comes to interior design, it's not just looking at your paint finishes or materials or lighting. Like it's space planning, right? A lot of what I do is space planning and thinking about your customer's journey, right? I know, like when I started my business, I started learning about sales funnels. Like I had no idea what that was, right? But your customer journey is like your space, your sales funnel. And so the way you space plan your store will encourage them to discover and see and buy, right? And so there is a psychology behind how you space plan your fixtures and the type of fixtures you set up and where you want to place like your, your feature displays and your vignettes. Like there is a thought process behind it. So
we had one final question come in. I know we're wrapping up in just a couple minutes. This is kind of the flip side of the CanGift community. So as you know, we work with both wholesale companies and then retailers. So it seems like it's a wholesale company and they're wondering how a vendor or supplier like them can encourage retailers to display a product grouping in the best way. Like, do you have any advice on how they can relay that message?
Well, you can, so if they're buying something from you, you can provide them with almost like a little playbook of how, like an instructional of how they can display your products. Like that kind of takes the work out of them having to figure it out. So if you feel like, your product, if you want your product to be displayed in a certain way, perhaps if you give them a visual, maybe a photograph, like here are our recommended ways of displaying our product. That would be helpful. Like if I was a small business owner and I had that, like that makes it 10 times easier for me because I don't have to figure that out. So yeah, like you could easily give that to them. And if you want to provide them with, I don't know, platforms that go with your product, that would be helpful. Or if you have a specific, merchandising vendor where you like to get your platforms from, or you think have the best platforms for your product, include that contact information. You're almost creating like a design standard for them or for your how your product should be displayed, and that's totally fine. Like in the corporate experience I have, I'll just, I'll share this as a secret, but like we've worked with Apple before and they have a standard of how they want their product to be displayed and they've provided us with that instruction, right? So I feel like that's totally fine to give your, I guess, retailers that instruction.
Yeah, I think that's super advice because, at the end of the day, everybody just wants to have happy customers.
Yeah, for sure.
And more sales, right?
Yeah.
So the more tools that are out there to help along the way, the better.
Everybody wins.
Everybody wins. Okay, Nikisha, this has been really refreshing. We had so many wonderful questions, and I'm sure that people want to continue chatting with you. Are you able to show that slide with your contact?
Yes. There we go.
So people know where to find you. Maybe talk them through it if you don't mind.
So yeah, for sure. So here are my contact details. I've got my website up. So my website, you can check out my services. I do consults. So if you need me to come in and kind of give you, I guess, an assessment, or you want some feedback on your store, you can book that. I do store design minis. So really for people who are on a short-term lease, they need to open a store ASAP and they kind of just want to do everything themselves, but want some guidance around fixture selection. I provide that there. And also if you are not even in the GTA or within Canada, no, everybody's in Canada in this group, but if you're outside of the GTA area, this service is probably the best for you. And then I've got my store design essentials, which is a focus on just fixture updates or, fixtures and merchandising. So, you can choose that service there or learn more about it. And then I do full store renovations. So those are the kind of 4 services I offer. And then you can follow me on Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook. So I'm really, really active on Instagram. So there's a lot of tips on there for you as well.
Yes, Nikisha's Instagram is beautiful, and you can probably even just get some tips for how your own Instagram should lay out from following hers. But definitely reach out to her. I mean, you've seen today how many fantastic pieces of knowledge she's shared with you in just this short hour. She has so much more to share and so much more she can help retailers with. So please check out her website, go to her social. get in contact with her if you have questions or would like to hire her for any of her services that she's mentioned. And we're just going to say thank you for joining us today. It's been a fantastic. Thank you. Really appreciate that.
Bye,
and
everyone.
Take care, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.